Yeah, I think I can start. Confirming if government is here complete.
Yes, government
Uh,
is here complete.
Okay. How about opposition bench?
Opposition bench is ready.
Okay, great. So good day, everyone. Welcome to the novice semifinals round. Congratulations for reaching this far. Paneling with me is Dylan and uh, Sudiska. Can you introduce yourself with a word?
Hi everybody, I'm Dylan. Congratulations on breaking and good luck in this round.
Hi, Sudiksha Shrika pronouns. Good luck.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I'm Marvin. I'll be your chair for this round. So yeah, before starting, please mention your gender preferred pronouns as well as your modes for taking PUIs. Then yeah, debating on the motion, this house regrets the commercialization of feminism, e.g. the inclusion of pop cultural icons, financial and corporate sponsorship, and aestheticization, whatever that is. Calling on the Prime Minister to the stand. Here.
Hello, everyone. Can I just confirm whether or not I'm visible and audible?
Yes, both visible and audible.
Starting speech in 3, 2, 1. Oh, my preferred gender pronouns are he, him. Verbal POIs, please. Sorry. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. A notion is a social standard, a social stigma. A notion is the mechanism that defeats option. And a notion is essentially not just a notion, but also a coercion. Honorable Speaker, the goal of the feminist movement is to achieve equality for women who are suffering and give equal rights to women on the ground. This goal is harmed when privileged women who are out of touch with the lived experience of the vast amount of people who are affected by sexist forces in society co-opt the feminist narrative to their own personal and commercial goals and imbue masses of young, impressionable women with an incorrect, in-researched, and actively harmful view of feminism. How does commercialization look like? 4 things here. Firstly, this is an appealing message that's not too politically charged, and it's vague as hell. Why is that so? Because companies are oftentimes very profit incentivized. The issue with a vague message is that not many individuals then will understand truly what it then means to be a feminist. And oftentimes it would then mean that a lot of individuals who have more influence are able to change the way in which and determine the way in which people then view feminism. Second thing here, note that a lot of the times this avoids issues that are needed to be talked about, like the pay gap or the glass ceiling. Then this means that it becomes a guise for individuals, for the companies to make sure that individuals do not recognize the issues that are occurring within their company, within their corporations, and are able to seem progressive while not actually being so. Thirdly, this gives more awareness to these companies because it targets half of their consumer base because half of them are women. And so therefore, this will make sure that they will give more profit and will give more attention towards these corporations. Examples of the real world look like rainbow capitalism and the selling of Make America Great Again hats that gained a lot of attention and a lot of sales in the status quo. Second piece of framing here, what are the interests of feminist movements? Firstly, they require genuine acceptance of the feminist movement. They don't necessarily operate based off of math. And secondly, they want to change against an institution. How does commercialization prevent this from manifesting? We'll tell you further in our substantives. What does the consumer base then look like? We feel as though the consumer base is consisting of 2 different types of individuals. Firstly, individuals who will see the woke incentive and then create greater resentment against the movement, aka bigots, and secondly, those who are more progressive. We'll tell you further in our speech why does it make it far worse for both of these individuals on our ground. Why? And insofar as we're able to prove that, we win this debate. 2 pieces of substantives that I want to bring forward within this debate. Firstly, how does commercialization not become the platform to promote, but instead becomes what detriments the movement? Secondly, on a comparative, why is it that we are able to achieve it better under our world? But before I move on, engagement. 3, 2, 1. I guess there's none. Firstly, how is it that commercialization makes forwarding the movement way worse, because it determines what it means to be a feminist because of three main reasons. The first is that is the usage of individuals like celebrities, like idols, that determine and show what it means to be a feminist. Oftentimes, to make it way easier, they just pop on a woman, sexualize her even worse, and then make it and just say that that's what feminism essentially means. We feel as though even if opposition will say that's a less likely chance for that it to occur. I don't know why they think that less likelier of a chance for that to occur is a justification to continue doing it, but we feel as though that niggling doubt that we have is something that's harmful. Secondly, there's a massive difference between the actual views of feminism, because feminism is a very nuanced topic. Some believe that sexualization is a good thing, but some don't, and therefore this prevents the intersectionality of movements. We take examples of individuals like the ideology that is harmed because of corporation and profit incentive. Note the way in which Taylor Swift has actively harmed the rhetoric of intersectional feminism. When when she got the nomination for 2 music videos for the MTV Awards, and Nicki Minaj didn't, Nicki Minaj actually caused some form of beef with Taylor Swift about what it means to them be a feminist, to the point where she blamed Taylor Swift for not supporting women. What the further harm here, more importantly, is it makes the barrier of entry extremely high to become a feminist. By right, feminism is supposed to be a movement where everyone can be a feminist, and therefore, when there's a risk of misspreading the trend as the trend goes on further within the years, as years go by, it becomes very diluted and manipulated by the corporations. We do not want this to happen. We'll take the analogy of bringing someone out on a dinner. Imagine bringing someone out on a dinner, bringing them to a place where they don't really like as much, without telling them where you're going, and then say you can't really say anything, you can't really say no because I did it all for you. So this is something that can essentially occur when corporations determine what it means then to be a feminist, where individuals then do not know how to be a feminist, and becomes far worse when young impressionable women, especially within the third world context, unable to see and unable to achieve the first world privilege idea of what it means to be a woman within the status quo. Let's move on to those who do not support the feminist movement. 3 things here. Firstly, it polarizes the movement even further, because it then determines that every woman and every feminist will act this way. For example, the way that girls act in shows are oftentimes seen as, mind my language, bitchy. And thirdly, note, bigotry is not necessarily deplatformed in the status quo, as Op might want to talk about. Note, when Barbie came out, a lot of individuals said that the way in which Ken was treated in the movie was something that was harmful, was something that was worse for men. So all of these things are something that occur even in the status quo, and it's a result of corporate incentive to gain a profit incentive on feminism. On a comparative, second argument, how we're able to change this under our world, because we prevent the harms of commercialization. We do not muddle the idea of what feminism is towards these 2 types of individuals that I mentioned. And note, the only people who are able to access any of these forms of goods that the corporations give out are richer individuals. So lower socioeconomic backgrounds of consumers aren't able to access this. So opposition can't really say that there's more awareness that people can suddenly access the idea of feminism under our end. Let's say that this cost is going to happen. Note, this cost literally means the idea of commercialization is bad. That's just unstrategic. We feel as though then this makes it so that corporations decide what individuals believe in and push their own ideas. We do not want this, ladies and gentlemen. We want a lower bar of entry. We want more intersectionality and support. And because of all those reasons, we are so proud to propose.
Thank you so much for that excellent open of this round. Let's call on the leader of opposition to open the case for Op.
Hi, can everyone see and hear me clearly?
Yes, you're both visible and audible.
All right, nice. I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. The feminist movement pushes for roughly 2 main goals. Firstly, you allow more people to understand the struggles and ideas, but also secondly, you want more people to buy it. This is the part that Prime Minister completely neglected in his speech, and this is what I'll be doing. My speech will look as such. Firstly, I will touch I will touch on the rebuttals. 2, I would do a little bit of reframing because there were a couple of things that were missed out, that were key coming from PM that should have come up from PM but didn't. And fourthly, and then thirdly, I will go into the points coming up. All right. So moving on to pieces of rebuttal. Coming from PM, he stood up today and he told us about how idols and corporations, firstly, but not only do they determine what feminism is, but also B, they also tried to say that it prevents a lot of intersectionality within the discussion of feminism. Simple responses to this. First and foremost, his clear analysis to it is the fight between Nicki Minaj and Taylor Swift. And in that fight, what's ironic is that the literal reason there was even discourse around what between those two people is because of commercialization. It's because of things that have been blown out of proportion, where marketing is everywhere, where you see a lot of feminist ideals on like the shampoo bottles that you can read while you're taking a shit. These are all things that have already been pushed for, and it's only a problem on side government. Because on side opposition, we don't have this particular issue.
Why?
Because on their side, they're trying to say that they negate a lot of the harms from it. But as we will prove to you on side opposition, when they take away this particular harm, they're taking away a bunch of good, which they have yet to prove why it's still justified on their side. But before I continue with setup, yes.
So why do you think corporations have the incentive to push for things such as reducing the gender wage gap for women?
Here's the thing. We all know that corporations wouldn't care for that, but that doesn't matter. What matters now is what the feminist movement would want and what they can gain from them. It's a mutual exchange, which moves me in to my next question. What are the real incentives of people? Because when we talk about corporations, Pantene and all, and celebs and all, what do they want? They want two things. Firstly, they want brand recognition, obviously, because they want to reflect their ideals on what they believe in, which is why they promote these things, which is why they align themselves with these kind of things. 2, you also see, for corporations and people to buy in, you see that firstly, women have a lot of buying power because women are a huge market, and they know that they can reach out to these people, which is why when the feminist movement accepts this form of commercialization, it allows more of their message to be spread through. 2, when we talk about women, we want women want people to firstly hear their problems, but also 2, be able to do some form of change, be it like as small as like attending a protest, or like as huge as going to parliament and like lobbying for change. In this particular context, what is exclusive now on our side is that because side opposition wanted to tell you that there'll be a barrier of entry and poor people couldn't enter. The response to this looks like corporations would put out a lot of products, not just Pantene and Dior and whatever. No, you can even see things on like the cheapest shampoos, or like, whatever cooking product you might have. These are companies, yes, but they have the ability to align with these things. So these allow more individuals to look into it. When we talk about issues, for example, like of the message being diluted, on our side of the house, we say it's fine, dilute the message. You know why? Because if you don't dilute this message, you don't get as many people to get in, and you don't get as many people to opt in, which is what the feminism movement wants from this. They don't want just the mere promotion. They want more people to join their cause. They want more voices to come out. And that is only happening on side opposition. All right, moving on to my arguments. Of the first argument coming from side opposition, which is what increased visibility. 3 prongs to this. Firstly, there's an obvious buy-in from people, especially women, because women have a lot of the voices that aren't heard. They have a lot of issues that they go through. They have a lot of problems, that female-specific problems, which a lot of lawmakers don't go through, because a lot of lawmakers are majority male. So these are platforms for them to actually be able to voice out their issues, because one voice is not strong, but a lot of voices is collectively a lot better, and that's why for the feminist movement. But also on the next prong, it's easier for women to contribute, because as I mentioned before, that is the structure that we live in today's world, as compared to side opposition, side government, when they regret having this thing, when they regret having these opportunities to get the message through in the first place to the smallest person. That stunts the feminist movement as a whole. That prevents corporations from nudging in, which allows corporations to help fund and help make this movement more sustainable. But also 3, there's a higher barrier of entry on side government now, because side government side looks like a side where, 1, people don't really talk. There's not a lot of commercialization about feminism. 2, anyone can declare themselves to be the face of feminism, because no one is actually perpetuating what true ideals are. 3, the discussion would be less now, on-site government because it's not mainstream. It's not mainstream. Yeah, they can say that, oh, it's diluted, a lot of message gets lost. It's fine. At least we get these people on the bandwagon. We get them to opt in first. And once these people have opted in,
4-6.
into rejected. When opposition buys in, when you have people that are buying into these ideas, what happens is that you have more people joining, and when you have more people joining, you have higher numbers, bigger protests. You have a larger voice. So that means you will obviously be taken seriously. Now, the impacts of this look like, as I stated before, having people having their voices out, having their ideas being more accessible to people. You have things like corporations. More corporations are more likely to buy in now because of the fact that, they're able to express their own ideas and their own beliefs, but also two, it's a lot of visibility for them. So even if side government was to come up and say that, oh, corporations are doing it for money, so what? Let them do it for money. We'll do it for the feminist movement. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing that we are getting out of these corporations is two things: exposure and funding. And these things exclusively happen in a wide range that's more accessible to a lot more people, only on site government. So what have I shown you? That I've in my speech today, I've shown to you why on our side, only on side opposition, do we have a bigger platform. I've weighed up to you and show you why this bigger platform makes it more accessible, which defeats the argument of the barrier of entry. Two, I talked to you which one is more likely to find funding, because why, and I've also explained to you why the feminist movement requires funding, because it doesn't have a corporate structure. They need to find outsourced funding, and what better way to get funding from the literal corporate overlords, which they keep on ranting about. But also three, which side has more informed individuals. On our side, we've shown to you that because of our lower barrier of entry, because more people have access to this message in the first place, only on our side do we show that feminist movement has grown significantly because of commercialization, and because of that, we don't regret it. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that excellent speech. Let's call on the Deputy Prime Minister to the stand here.
Yo. Hi. Yeah, before I start, I'd like to say that I prefer verbal POI, so yeah. Starting in starting in 3, 2, 1. Purple capitalism has always been a form of virtue signaling by corporations to make everyone co-op into buying their products. I think it was just being virtue signaling. It actually doesn't mean anything for the progress of feminism. Ultimately, capitalism is not what liberate women from the problems of today, but rather it's the one that continually oppress women from throughout society. But before I'm going to go into further extensions on the Gulf case, I'm going to go into several layers of response towards what the LR has told you about. But I think one of the problem is that basically one of the things that they told you is basically that for some reason the feminist movement want to have more recognition. I think this is untrue for two structural reasons. I think the first reason is that feminism is already something that everybody has some sort of awareness about. So it's not true for basically LR to come out and say, oh, if we commercialize feminism, it means that more people can get the message. That's not true. Feminism is already so prevalent in society that everybody at least know what the core tenet of feminism too is. But secondly, I think the other structural reason why this is untrue is where corporations have less incentive to push for things such as for feminist movement, some of the goals of feminist movement, such as reducing the gender wage gap, because it goes against the interest of things such as profit incentive. Because if you have to reduce the gender wage gap, it means you'll cut down on your profit. So I don't think corporations have an incentive to do that. I think this was not really responded through my POI by the LO, because I think that this is a problem of corporations using feminism to basically virtue signal. The problem is that they intentionally use this to guide away from the composition that these corporations are actually the ones that are oppressing women through things such as the pink tax, where they intentionally charge things that are way higher for basically the same products between men and women, or basically they continue to facilitate the things of gender wage gap, where basically women get less pay, they don't get things such as maternity leave, and they continue to profit from the oppression of women. I think then the second problem is about the problem of diluting the message of the movement. Because the problem is that insofar as everybody already agrees with what feminism is about, oh, we want equality, we want women should have things such as go boss, whatever, right? I think the problem is that is intentionally remove them. It takes away the message or voices of people who have actual grievances against the system. Things such as Black women being oppressed continued by corporations, such as where some of their products is intentionally higher, or basically how basically women in like third world countries are gonna get ignored because the main priorities of this like corporations is to target towards those people who live in the first world country, right? So they're just only target like things such as like first world feminist issues. So they intentionally ignore other parts of the world, right? I think then this again takes this means that the only way for people to actually push their message is actually people with money. So that's why white feminism is basically what the commercialization of feminism is about. It's basically you only push the narratives of white feminism while you intentionally ignore feminism from other forms of society, such as black women or women of color in general, right? I think that it creates a perversion in which white feminism is being actively diluted, and they can't get any means of social capital for people to actually buy in, to actually push for the next stage of feminism that actually allows for more equality between women. But before that, is there any point?
There is no quota for how many women role models you can have in the feminist movement. We have Beyonce, who champions Black women. We have Aishwarya Rai, who champions Indian women. So I don't see why you are limiting yourself, because you're not being charitable to the case right now.
Okay, one, I think you're intentionally not understanding what I'm trying to say. I think one, the only reason why this idols are successful in the first place is because they don't go into the deeper issues of this issue, that because they intentionally want to stay profitable, and they still want to channel towards capitalism. It means that they won't actually dive into issues such as sexual assault in places like India, or they won't go into more specific issues. I think secondly, I think saying that we don't get role models on our side is inherently untrue, because there's still activists that don't participate in capitalism. It means that they continue to do activism without gaining any form of profit motive by doing activism, right? I think then the problem of even that, I think this problem of like basically commercialization of feminism is that it intentionally creates some level of woke washing. I think this is going to be even more harmful for the feminist movement, insofar as it also creates some sort of conservative backlash through the idea of corporations purple washing, because insofar as now these conservatives see that these feminists are basically, oh, they're taking over our media, they're taking over our things that we use. I think it's going to create further backlash that intentionally dilutes the message, because now basically feminism is basically, oh, this thing should be for women, etc., right? I think secondly, it creates backlash through basically people being angry at you for like literally turning everything into feminism. I think that's inherently not what feminism is about. It's about targeting the precise issues that are affecting women in the workplace, for example, right? I think then this goes into my extension on corporate censorship, right? Because I think again, PM already told you why corporations are not going to engage in uncomfortable or controversial issues regarding things such as the gender wage gap as an example, right? Because one, their incentive is to gain as much money as possible, which means they want to appeal their products to as many people as possible. So the idea of feminism is going to be like things such as, oh, yay, woman is equal to man, but doesn't go into the issue of why women in society is inherently unequal to men. Because things such as the gender wage gap, things such as how women are constantly viewed as not fit for leadership positions or something like that. I think either then they still profit off feminism and doesn't actually give back to what feminism is fundamentally about, which is uplifting women. I have never that, because the thing about because corporations are still going to do things such as the pink tax, where they still charge higher prices for female hygiene products, for example, right? I think additionally, this goes in the second layer of how basically it used to intentionally shoot themselves from issues between like the company's own operations. This is like how basically people are looking away from corporations that intentionally have discriminatory policies against women, such as how they don't offer maternity women who recently gave birth. I think the problem of why this is more likely on the side of opposition is that because insofar as basically there's more commercialization of like feminism, it means that that corporations are intentionally pushing this message of like equality, and this allows them to shoot from the idea of, and this gives them authority in the matter, such that people won't question their workplace practices, insofar as now they're seen in the eyes of many people to be pro-feminist, and therefore they think the issue is solved. I think the problem is more nuanced into that, and I think people on our side of the house is more likely to going to call out these corporations for what they're doing, insofar as these people are not going to be bought, not going to be not going to just take whatever what this corporation are saying at face value. I think the implications of this is that on their side of the house, they reinforce the structure on misogyny and capitalism, in which they continue to oppress women. I think commercialization ultimately takes more away from feminism. It's the idea of how basically commercialization only focus on basically issues that are regarding like commercial feminism often engage in the lens of white feminism, things such as Taylor Swift or like being a girl boss, while they intentionally not talk about issues that directly affect things such as Black women or basically other women from third world countries, right? I think that it looks like there's a very big problem in terms of how corporate feminism has affected women across the world and never been part of the proposal.
For the next speech, let's call on Deputy Leader of Opposition to stand here. Is the DLO here? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, my camera's having issues. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Okay, thank you. Is this clearer?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in yes. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Panel. Now, today, before I start my speech, I would like to present some rebuttals. Now, first, our lovely DPM and PM did mention on how capitalism works and how that currently the feminist movement is an awareness that they would like to help and treat the the gender pay gap, as well as like women not getting any maternity leave and yada yada. I would just like to highlight that currently the feminist movement is a movement that would like to bring issues which women are currently facing and make people aware. And the reason why they need to make people aware is that because that less people are knowing what's important. So now, firstly, I would like to highlight that the government here has put in the burden on the corporations to like give maternity leave and gender pay gap and yada yada yada. But I would just like to mention that corporations can only provide these incentives to their workers only. So why focus on something small when you can focus on something big? And plus, these gender pay gaps and maternity leaves and yada yada, even though settled by the government, it is also impacts which takes time. So how can an impact take time if the awareness will not to exist? So in this sense, we as an opposition here, we dilute this information because it gets the main message through. It brings awareness to women facing these issues and thus making others and all of the citizens more likely to understand the issue and jump on the bandwagon. This will then actually give
On that,
a
ma'am.
chance. Sorry?
POI.
Yeah, accepted.
How are you likely to get people to be more aware about what happens within your corporation when the corporation itself sells products in the name of feminism, when individuals are like, hey, they're already selling stuff that are feminist, what? So why should we care about what happens within their corporation?
Thank you so much for the statement, but this is actually the burden on the corporation and not the burden on the feminist movement. So now moving on, firstly, I'd like to highlight that Thai government here has highlighted and mentioned on the first word feminist, and then like they are ignoring people of color, ignoring the minority. But I'd just like to highlight that the feminist movement is not as such. They mentioned that the feminist movement or corporations are likely to focus on quote unquote first world women or like quote unquote rich women. But I'd just like to highlight that why would corporations would only limit themselves to only the first world people or first world women? Corporations any money is also money. Corporations or big corporations will not only limit themselves to the people on the rich, but they will also focus on minorities or first world or second world countries. Thus, corporations are more likely to adopt this because women, as mentioned by my LO, have the main buying power. So now, also highlighted by the DPM, they're mentioning that quote unquote it's more accessible to the rich. But what is access? Access is actually information. So information is quote unquote free for all. So information such as advertisements or information can be produced or like given to third world countries through like advertisements and social media and so on and so on. So this actually lowers down the entry point for us on site opposition. Now, moving on to my first point, I would like to mention that we would like to empower women through consumer choices. Now, companies who are actually pro-women actually provide a platform where women partake in the feminist movement by using their purchasing power. They're able to use this movement or use this power to contribute to social causes based on their own values, aligning with the feminist movement. So these contributions to the feminist communities through donations, and the companies can give through donations that people do initiatives through their product. So such as the company giving a certain amount of percentage to the movements and so and so. So now, why is this important? I'll answer you, panel. Because other competitors will be likely to encourage to participate in the movement as well, because they understand that women also women already mentioned by my LO, women care about companies caring for their emotions, caring about their needs, caring about their issues. So now all of the world are likely to support these companies, and competitors would jump on the bandwagon and they'll be encouraged to participate in the movement because they also want money. Companies are here to earn money. Corporations are to earn money. So they are likely to appeal to the community who is likely to go towards the feminist movement ideals. So now, how is this important? So when bigger corporations also jump on this bandwagon, they have a greater reach to reach out to the countries or second or third world countries or communities that do not actually have these messages accessible to them. So this makes our entry point even lower because by making feminist messages through like advertisements or such,
Yeah.
or like social media, through various platforms such as advertising, media, and retail, we actually raise awareness about gender equality and promoting social change. I'll explain a POI later. So now, in a world where this happens, companies are actually empowered, and celebrities will be also encouraged to talk more on the feminist movement as they're aware that consumers are more likely to support those movements. Now, I'd like to highlight that celebrities here are also companies or corporates that have their own advertising firms. They also have their own public image to actually maintain. So in this case, they are definitely likely to support the feminist movement because they understand that the main mass consumers are likely to even go and support the people who support the feminist movement. So why would they not? They definitely will. Thus, it is aware that corporations and celebrities are highly aware that consumers are definitely likely to support these movements. Thus, they were likely to go because that is their incentive, and the consumers will definitely use their buying power to support them. Thus, companies and celebrities will put more focus and provide more exposure to the feminist movement, which actually benefits the feminist movement as the feminist movement will give incentives through these celebrities and companies, and it also allows the everyday woman to definitely go and support these companies, which provides funding back to the feminist movement. Well, on the government side, corporations now and celebrities do not promote these values because it is not talked about, and the only communities and countries that will receive or talk about these values are so-called the first world countries because these are the people who are likely to talk about these issues. And then in governments world, the women and in the second or third world countries are less likely to even get to know the feminist movement, and then they might rely on the government to relay this issue, which even has a bigger toll on them to address the so-called gender pay gap and also maternity leaves. Now, I would like to highlight that we will, on our end, promoting corporate social responsibility is also important because when we have companies investing in these values, the companies will reflect the values and they will want to maintain a good corporate image. So the feminist movement will need funds to operate. Thus, though, as we have this financial sustainability, the monies that the companies gain will actually give back to the feminist movement. This is done through donations, collaborations, and so on, so and so with celebrities or companies. So they can actually encourage businesses to adapt to more inclusive and equitable policies which promote positive social change and fostering an environment that values and supports women's rights. So the impact here is that these companies with a big marketing department, they provide larger optics for said message because, like example, Dove, which exists in many countries, not in the first world country, but even third world countries, they are not only promoting it they are not only existing, but they also have advertisements. So these companies will share about their advertisements through feminist movements. They will talk about their feminist qualities and personal and emotional experiences of females facing prejudice. So this will encourage and inspire younger women in these so-called laid-back countries. Because how? Like Pantene and Dove, they have campaigns or on mentioning they would encourage younger children or women to dwell into chemistry or STEM studies so they can work with the company and they can further their studies, which actually gives these women a chance to break the traditional values of traditional women and provides our younger women with a chance of a better future. And because not all medias and countries are likely to promote these values and support the feminist movement, thus the companies will actually create a bigger impact by providing these optics to women who are not know about the movement, and rather on those in governments were relying on the government, which actually is a bigger toll for them because the government is not likely to appeal to this because technically the government doesn't even need to earn money from this. Thus, they have lesser incentive. With that, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that excellent speech calling on government whip to crystallize their case. Here.
Just confirming I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you're both visible and audible.
Okay, both visible and audible. I have a really simple seat for you today, right? Because firstly, I'll start some rebuttals, then I'll go on to my main catch on why you win, right? Firstly, let's point out the lack of analysis that coming from their side of the house, right? Because L keeps talking about how these products are going to help them, but they really prove how inserting a face of a woman is going to actually promote these feminist ideals, right? But secondly, they also talks about how feminist woman doesn't care if you opt in or not, or if you don't get their main message, right? But let's say you are sexist, right? The feminist movement will literally reject you. They're not desperate to the point where they will want you to join the community just because they want more people in the movement, right? It also talks about, then he continues about how he wants like non-supporters to go on the bandwagon of like the feminist movement and then just change after that, right? But guys, no, if my rapist hasn't changed and is still misogynistic, the feminist movement wouldn't want him at all. Plus, on top of that, if you don't accept these people, the feminists, if you do accept these people, like what they say on the other side of the house, the feminists in the feminist movement probably hate you and just leave, which only hurts at the end of the day because they want more people to join them, it seems. But secondly, you talk about how on the other side of the house they allow these people to voice out their issues. Firstly, they provide no analysis on this. But secondly, they also never clarify the importance of commercialization after 2 whole speeches, right? Or on already seen methods on campaigning and status quo, like for example, social media protesting. Their claim is that commercialization grows the feminist movement, but also ignores that we make our own alternatives stronger, as we already mentioned since first, right? But note that they also talked about how like third world countries and use of social media and how they will help with like spreading awareness, right? But note that on both sides of the house, we also have people spreading awareness online. This debate is about commercialization. Her benefits are non-mutually exclusive. Moving on to our clashes, 3 less under this, right? Who fulfills the incentive of the feminist movement is the best. As long as you're able to prove this, we'll win this debate. But we've already told you since the start that the incentive of the feminist movement is to promote gender equality. They want similar opportunities for women. They want women to be more confident about themselves. They want themselves to feel good, be less insecure about insecurities, for example. Understand that a lot of these companies are profit incentivized in status quo. This means that sure, you can make 10 ads promoting feminism, but in the end of the day, the main incentive is still going to be able to sell off their products to the public. Why use commercialization to sell then, right? Because feminism is one of the most widely accepted movements in the world already, especially in developing nations, especially in developed nations. Hence, if a company is able to step out and say, yes, we support women, then all those activists, all the feminists will come out and support you, and your sales will go up immediately. This can also be done to avoid cancel culture, who knows, right? But Elo also concedes to this because he said that, it's really literally just blown out of proportion, that companies want brand recognition, that feminists are a large market, etc. But no, there are still some people who don't support the feminist movement. Therefore, like what Yuji told you, a lot of these companies are likely to do is going to wash down and going to promote a very vague meaning of what feminism actually is. But why then is commercialization so bad then? This is going to tear down their whole case. 3 things under this. Firstly, when you wash down, you're inherently spreading a vague or false misconception of what feminism actually means. This means even when we take them at their best and assume, yes, there can be some form of small promotion from their side of the house. We tell that firstly, just for promotion this form of promotion, the degree of change that it's supposed that it can provide you is very insignificant because of how vague these commercials have to be. Therefore, it probably wouldn't be something like significant to today's world anyways. But secondly, we flip this and we tell this is bad because it takes away a lot of the attention of the public towards these new and updated and pressing like issues, right? The more precise and more specific struggles of feminists that women are facing now in 2024. Thirdly, this replies directly to L.O.'s mention on how letting the message be diluted is fine because we tell it's totally false. But then Yao also talks about type of awareness, right? They seem like their side of the house is a world where awareness is literally just feminism existing, and that is good. But this doesn't mean creating awareness that actually generates social change in today's world. Understand that we are now in the stage 4 of like the fourth wave of like feminism, right? This looks like focus on intersectionality, right? This means these are going to be ignored in the world opposition for 2 reasons. Like firstly, literally corporations are owned predominantly by white people, hence they're unlikely to experience the issues of minorities. But secondly, also why is there an incentive push for minorities regarding feminism? This doesn't mean the return of corporations in low comparison to the ideas of selling a vague idea of feminism such as girl boss, etc. Right? But secondly, note the importance of this in 2 different modes of feminism, right? In Gauss' world is where people actually resonate with the core issues. They are aware of it because activists are the ones who give a voice to voice out things and problems for women of color, etc. But opposite side of the house is a where feminism is intersectionally diluted to the message that everybody agrees, but never actually takes the next step to actually break out the hierarchy and actually make a change, right? We told you how cooperative incentives are never actually going to agree with the message and they just use it as a tool, right? Hence, awareness regarding specific issues don't actually exist insofar as the promotion of it is only through people who have commercial incentives to and not actually push for it, right? Understand that activism regarding specific issues don't exist in their side of the house insofar as the promotion is only through specific. Understand that activity is like on our side of the house is not affected by capitalism, meaning that there's no like perverse incentive to make corporations or people choose the message they want to imply. But secondly, companies can easily use this message as a shield on their side of the house and they'll have like no accountability. What do we mean like this, right? We mean that corporations use it to gloss over workplace abuses after they have been like made these corporations. This means like, for example, it'll be a lot more difficult for these disadvantaged women to fight back because not only do you have to face all these accusations against like your sexist spot that pushes against you, that's trying to cover up all the attempts of you voicing out, but now you have to fight back against this group of feminists and activists who do believe that this company is part of the movement because they've already bought in to so many years of commercialization, right? This means that all the glass ceilings where women cannot rise up because of their sexist CEOs or oppression against minority women in the workplace will still exist. Therefore, we tell this is detrimental as it largely protects them from any sort of accountability to the companies for all their immoral acts, right? But let's look at their best case scenario and bite the bullet. This woman does have the power to voice out for herself. Okay, she can fight back for her boss. She has the friends that support her and believe her. But the difference that we provide here is so much. The difference we provide here is that it's so much more easier for her to just get justice on outside the house, because on the outside the house you have to deal with all these feminists who don't know who to believe. The company who has done so much for the feminist movement for the last 10 years, or the woman who just sparked out of nowhere. On outside the house, because commercialization doesn't even exist in the first place, all these feminists from the feminist movement are more to fully support her, showing less signs of doubt, etc. Right? But thirdly, the barrier of entry to give your voice as a minority, right? Not all of this commercialization, these idols, these ads, you tend to see like glorification of feminists, right? This looks like I have to act a certain way or do a certain action to be considered as a feminist. But when this happens on the opposition side of the house, it's precisely what the feminist movement is against. Because the whole point of being a feminist movement is that you want the barrier of entry to be a feminist really like accessible to women. Because all you have to do is just follow their rules of respect and support women, right? Therefore, the opposition makes this form of advertisements, show these actions of idols carrying out these events. You sculpt an image of being a feminist is to be just a crazy figure, right? Meaning that the barrier of entry is a lot higher on their side of the house compared to us, where if we continue with like, you know what, if you want to be a feminist, just follow their values, be respectful, don't discriminate against women, and if you want to share about house, we are welcome to do so, right? This is evident then that outside the house, the barrier of entry is a lot more lower, meaning that we get more supported and we're able to get a larger form of change and faster for our women on outside the house. But let's take ourselves at the worst, right? Maybe less people know about feminist movement, but we tell that's totally okay insofar as, firstly, we're not diluting the message and we can actually have some form of change. But secondly, women who are affected can be supported and people believe in them more easily, and it's easier for them to voice out compared to the outside the house where they just harm the feminist movement as a whole by commercializing. They're being proud to propose.
Thank you so much for that excellent speech. Let's call on opposition whip to crystallize their case. Here.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you're clear. Oh, hold on. I think there's an echo.
Am I audible now?
Yes, that's better.
No echo? All right. Panel, we live in an economics of visibility, and inside opposition, we fully understand this, and we understand this the best, and we're going to utilize it to meet the goals of the feminist movement. Before I move to my rebuttals, I'm going to address a minor issue wherein SideGov's entire case hinges upon their understanding that feminism is already so prevalent, and most people already understand the core tenets. Two responses. One, a lot of women in the world, millions of them, still live in really culturally taboo situations. They are stuck in a lot of abusive marriages. They are stuck working in sweatshops, being exploited, and all those things. If you ask them, hey, what are the 4 feminist movements in the West? They won't know it. But let's take side government's approach, right? Let's assume that all women already know what feminism is. Still, even if a lot of people already know, a lot of companies and policy makers still haven't, are not pressured enough to create structural change, right? So two responses. A lot of women are not feminists, but even if they are, it's not enough because policymakers and companies are not creating structural change. Okay, now moving on to my rebuttals. First clash, which is on commercialization. They claim that it only brings harms. We claim it brings a lot of benefit. Simple response. What exactly do we want when we commercialize? When commercialization mobilizes feminist discourses and images via branding strategies. No, thank you. Sure, we don't guarantee foreclosure or we don't guarantee that it can completely erase the possibility for collective struggles against structural inequality. But what does it do? It brings attention to pressing structural gender equality problems. For example, Nike ads, when Nike started positioning women athletes in Muslim countries as the forefront of their branding, what does it do? 2 things that it did. 1, empower Muslim women through more consumer choices for athletic clothes. Second thing it did was it challenged traditional views that women cannot amount to that, right? In athleticism and in sports. So what was the impact of this in real world? What was the impact of this in real world? Women and girls who were in culturally misogynistic environments, they felt connected to a larger movement. They felt that like their issues were being seen, right? However, this line of logic, all of these levels of impact, there is no opportunity for mainstream visibility for women's issues inside government's world. Like, So many examples like body care products that normalize body hair, period products that highlight period poverty. There's no opportunity for any of these reaching that large-scale visibility in Gulf's world. However, we see that living in the economics of visibility, we can fully utilize commercialization in this way, right? So let's go to the second clash, where side government claimed that mainstream feminism, is usually co-opted by privileged groups and rich women. And what does this lead to? They claim that it leads to the dilution of the message. Two responses. First, they claim that one person or one issue is going to overshadow another. I responded with, there is no quota in the world of how many facets of feminism and how many role models can exist. They hyper-fixated on white feminism, but they're not being charitable with their own characterization. They are supposed to characterize it properly. They're not doing it, so I'm going to do it, right? Along with my other team members who did it just now. For example, the singer Halsey. So she champions for abortion and reproductive rights. Beyonce champions for, Black and queer feminism. Okay, so there are a lot of facets of feminism that exist that are being championed. But another issue is that they are denying the lived experiences of these rich women. And why is that flawed? And why does it show that they do not understand feminism? They think that being wealthy excludes women from being subject to misogyny. They claim that just because you're rich, your lived experience is not important. Beyonce came from the slums. Dolly Parton was poor and she was being raped. So their lived experiences are not negated just because they ended up being rich, right? That's why they are still valid role models, and it's important for them to be there. So next, let's talk about the dilution of messaging that side gov claims happen. They say that on our side, companies, no thank you, companies are only virtue signaling. My simple response to that is one, women in the global south with no access to higher education, who are tied to notions of duty towards like domestic labor. We on-site out, we bite the bullet and we told you, yes, the message is diluted, but for a reason. And what is that reason? Because these women in the global south, they don't need you to shove Marxist feminist literature review in their faces. What do they need? What they needed was seeing the words girls not brides, for example, for child marriage, Me Too, for example, for sexual assault, which is what reaches them because of the high visibility of advertising and social media, hashtag activism, and all the celebrities that they listen to, championing this in their concerts and in their merchandise. So that's what these women need. You can't tell people to build a car if they don't even know what like a spanner is, if they don't know how an engine works. That's not how you adopt that's not how you adopt a political ideology and turn it into praxis. Okay, so next let's move on to their claim of how if we allow the commercialization, a lot of people are going to feel like they're being excluded, and they're going to feel like, because all these products are so feminist, it doesn't really align with me, I feel like I'm being excluded. My simple question is this: in civil rights movements, in movements against xenophobia, do you tell Black people to go and love white people? Do you tell foreigners to go love people who are oppressing them? I'm questioning, how exactly are you championing the feminist movement when you seem to think that women are the only oppressive group who should go side with their oppressors? No, if it benefits women consumers, if it benefits those companies, we say that it is a mutualistic relationship. It is not exploitation, and we don't think that capitalizing off of something and commercializing off of something is a net negative. We see the benefits behind it, and we see and understand how the visibility is the most important thing. And even if it's not the most important thing is in this debate, it still enables all the benefits that you guys bring on site gov, which is like championing marginalized voices, and then getting allowing to understand. No, thank you. It's already past the 6 minute, right? So let's go by clash. Commercialization, whether there's benefit or harm, we have shown you how there's exponential benefits, and whatever harms that they bring can be curbed because discourse exists in the first place, right? For example, all the Barbie movies and everything, the only reason that more people looked into feminism, feminist theory, is because of that discourse, right? Let's go. And then next, on dilution, we say that one, that's not necessarily true. Even if it's true, it's important because it needs to be diluted for certain audiences who need it the most. And last but not least, on whether both of these things lead to the feminist movement, feminist goals being reached, we say that it does, and it does it so much faster and at a much larger scale. And with that, I've never been prouder to oppose.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that excellent speech. Now to close the case for Upbench, calling on Upreply here.
Hi, I'd like to confirm if I'm audible and visible.
You're
Yes.
audible, but we cannot see you.
My camera is not showing it. Is it showing now?
Yes, it's showing up.
All right, okay. My speech begins in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at what has happened throughout the entire debate, and let's see which side actually benefits the people on the ground and the people that we care about in today's debate. First thing coming out from side opposition, from side government, they talked to us about how the dangers of commercialization, about how, their analysis went along the lines of, idols need to be there, and people just need to have the money. Side government throughout the entire case has made a couple of things clear. Firstly, they presume that a lot of the issues that come up in status quo are because of women, and women themselves are hindering things. That's why they berate things like having females champion for movements, or we can also see things like when they completely neglect the fact that they say that there's a huge barrier of entry. This just shows to you that in this day and age, and in this particular debate right now, that side government is not considering a lot of other factors that enter into feminism. They've only been portraying to you what white feminism looks like and how white feminism progresses. That's already a huge flaw on their side. Secondly, when they talk about the dilution of the message, what does this look like? The dilution of message on their side, they're telling us that it's going to get so muddled up that people wouldn't get the message. Despite multiple efforts from outside of the house, when we told them that even though that this message is muddled, firstly, if it happens, it's fine, because we need it to be muddled down, to be digestible, to be in bite-sized pieces, so that people that don't know anything, which is most likely the most vulnerable individual, they would be able to access feminism in the first place. As compared to on their side of the house, they basically never showed us how exactly do people A, buy into the feminist movement, also B, how exactly it helps push forward the feminist movement. They've been running a pretty negative case so far. Thirdly, on the issue of barrier of entry, ladies and gentlemen, on side opposition, we have highlighted to you how the concept of feminism works, and how people buy in, and how people opt in, and how people can contribute in all levels. We talked about how people get in when they're rich, how poor people could buy in too, how poor people can contribute, how rich people can contribute. We've analyzed you and shown to you that on our side of the house, and our more broader and complete understanding of what feminism is, shows that on our side of that, we've proven to you that their argument of this being a huge barrier of entry is absolutely false, because their only analysis that came out from this barrier of entry argument went along the lines of, okay, hey, we have a lot of only people with a lot of money can become these idols and can participate as a feminist because they have money to pay for these kind of things. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they're missing the very huge point of what this movement does and how this movement usually operates in terms of, going for protests, or having for people, going out and have mass campaigns over social media, hashtag this, hashtag that. These are all vital things which can be done by spending literally no money. So I don't see at all how side government's case stands at the end of the day. But what has side opposition brought to you today? One, we've shown to you increased visibility. When we talk about increased visibility, we've shown to you how we managed to leverage these corporations and these idols in order to push feminist goals, because it is in the best it is in the best case for them. Two, we've shown to you how these women are further empowered by consumerism, by catering to the most vulnerable individual, which would most likely be women from the global south, who is still living in very is still living in very rural and a very patriarchal society, which is pushing them down. We've also shown to you how corporates have bigger incentives, and how more corporations would buy in, so we would have more allies and more funding and more people supporting it. Yeah, sure, we bite all the bullets and tell you that, yeah, we accept the dilution, we accept the fact that the corporations might do pink washing, but at the end of the day, all these benefits outweigh all these negatives that come from side proposition. With that, I've never been proud to oppose.
Thank you so much for that excellent speech. Let's now call on Gov. Reply to end this debate. Thank you.
Opposition lost for two main reasons. One, their entire premise falls upon when you think about why corporations actually forward the message of feminism in the first place, because they know that they then can profit off the idea of feminism, because more people actually see that, oh, they're a good company, and they'll actually buy into it. The moment you realize that this is the case, their premise entirely falls, because note that the only reason why feminism was prevalent in the first place is because of activists that actually fought instead of literally instead of corporations literally saying that feminism is good. Because understand that feminism, and understand that these corporations know that the reason why they even push on this message in the first place is because they know that they won't get the substantial backlash that meant that they won't get any profit at all. Think about it. If the incentives of corporations is directly tied against the idea of what feminism is pushing for, then all their premise and all their benefit falls down, as why I posited in my second speech, right? I think then that's the first reason why they lost. I think secondly, they lost on the weak strategy alone in terms of how they characterize the feminist movement is and how they intend to increase visibility. Because note that feminism is not the idea of just saying, oh, feminism is good, is good. Women are supposed to be equal. Women should go to work, etc. This is already something that is already co-opted by the rest of the world, right? Through things such as social media, where people already are most likely gonna agree with you that, oh, women are equal, should go to work, women should go to school. But I think the problem is that then they view accessibility as literally saying that it's like revealing people, it's like, oh, this is what feminism is about. But I don't think that's inherently true, because I really established from the start from PM's speech is that the idea of what we are trying to push right now as feminism is a push on the core issues that systemically oppresses women from the get-go. This looks like things such as the gender wage gap. This thing looks like the pink tax. This thing looks like things that corporations have often oppressed women for through the use of capitalism, where this is the precise reason why the debate is literally about. I think the reason why I think that is I don't think OP can actually win this, because really showing you why some of these issues that feminism is fundamentally about is never going to be addressed through capitalism, because simply it goes against the incentive structure of corporations and people who profit off capitalism alone. I think furthermore, they remove the nuance of the debate entirely, because what we're talking about is not that you want to tell people that feminism exists or like what are the core tenets of feminism, but fundamentally about the core issues that are often not talked about in society. Things such as intersectionality of how basically Black women are gonna receive much more discrimination than comparative onto white women, which already told you why corporate feminism is literally focused on the lens of white women, which inherently oppresses white women, Black women as a whole, right? I think again opposition loses out in terms of this nuance. I think then this goes into two main clashes in terms of what level activism is actually present on both sides of the house. Because what likely it looks like on opposition is activism that is very shallow in terms of basically it generally supports this very vague conception of what feminism is about. It actually doesn't target it actually doesn't actually go into deeper issues such as structural issues, because basically corporations are just gonna hide under this pro-feminist idea and basically just ignores like issues on the workplace where corporations continue perpetuate this issue. I think on their side of the house, they get less engagement of this simply because a lot of this feminist movement is gonna get co-opted through capitalism. I think secondly, in terms of visibility, I think we were able to establish far better nuance in terms of what visibility is about. It's about it's about more specific issues that specific feminist movement are targeting on. Let's note that feminist movement is not this broad conception of women equal equality. It's a set of complex issues that affect different women from different areas. I think because of that, we were able to show that we are able to increase visibility through activists promoting themselves instead of basically this corporation just promoting a big sense of visibility. I think on that alone, we're able to show why minority feminists are able to profit more of, are going to benefit more on their side, on our side, and why minority feminists is going to lose in the end, in where feminism is feminism is capitalized, and basically there's more harm on their side of the house. I think with that, I've shown you why capitalism is not what released the shackles of women, but rather was the one that placed shackles onto women itself. Never been proud to propose.
Thank you so much for the excellent speech, and thank